Welcome to the Challenges of Change, the podcast where we explore the transformative journey towards self-improvement and personal growth. I'm your host, Laura, a mindset coach in the health and fitness industry, here to guide you through the hurdles that life throws at you. In each episode, we'll delve into practical strategies and insightful discussions to help you manage stress, regulate your emotions, upgrade your mindset, and ultimately reclaim your sense of worth. I'm thrilled to have you join me on this journey of change, challenges, and self-discovery. And we're back for another episode of the Challenges of Change. And today we are getting to the heart and soul of change. Let's look at this, right? When people think about change, they typically come in with some type of information. They saw a diet, they heard a certain celebrity talk about a facial routine that works for them, whatever it might be. They have some type of information and they want to utilize that information to change. But why is change so dang challenging? Well, I mean, I could do a whole episode on that, but that's not technically what this one is about. It's challenging for a variety of reasons. Our body likes its homeostatic norm. Our brain doesn't like to move into discomfort. So literally your willingness to move into and through discomfort becomes a superpower when that's how our brain works. But ultimately, I think it starts at the beginning, which is information, awareness, and integration. So typically, this looks like someone recognizes a pain point through awareness. They don't like how they look in a picture. They're feeling burnt out or foggy. They're feeling emotionally erratic based on their environment. It can manifest itself in a handful of different ways. So people typically gain awareness that they want to change by being uncomfortable where they are. So what's the rational next step is they get some type of information from somewhere, right? And this is what I've learned that's crucial to change is that information isn't enough. I have talked until I'm blue in the face about boundaries with certain types of clients and different people, and yet the same problem persists. The concept they can understand, they can practice it with me, but the moment they need to integrate it into their life with a loved one, it falls flat. And naturally, they beat themselves up, which is not necessarily the right response, but it's an authentic one. Blaming themselves, feeling like they should be smarter, they should do better, they should know how to do this. They understand it with Laura. Why can't they do it on their own? And honestly, it is frustrating when you know you want to do something and yet you can't get yourself to do it. And I feel like the most obvious zone, I suppose, that people experience this is when it comes to physical health. How many people have you heard say they want to work out more, but they struggle to get themselves to do it? How many people have you heard saying they want to eat better or drink less, and yet when the moment comes to make those decisions, they don't do it? Because what isn't talked about and what isn't seen is what you get consciously or unconsciously from exchanging in the actions that you're already taking. So, for instance, let's say you don't want to drink as much. You go out for a happy hour with friends, and it's like a Wednesday night, so you're not really gonna like throw one on. What's the point of one or two drinks, you think? And then you witness all of your coworkers drinking, and all of a sudden this social pressure starts to kick in. And although you're sitting there thinking, I don't want to drink, you feel like you're left out if you don't. Or I've heard that with people when it comes to eating well as well. They don't want to make their friend eat dessert alone, or everyone else was eating unhealthy, so they use it as an excuse. Ultimately, what this talks about is an integration challenge, because at the core of change is our ability to integrate it into our lives. I've heard so many different people, they've listened to numerous podcasts, they've read books, they've gone to webinars or conferences, they've done the work to be informed. And then they're stuck because they can't do anything with the information because a lot of people don't understand how to work with our physiology. as in how our body works for or against us. A common thing that you'll hear about stress is if you don't take a break, your body will force you to take a break by making you feel sick. So we've heard that our body responds to how we are, but we haven't looked at why our body is the way it is. Let's look at boundaries, for instance, because this is like the one that everyone really talks to me about. People want to have healthier boundaries in their lives, but they're terrified. Why? Well, look at what you get by not having boundaries. A sense of familiarity, a sense of connection, a sense of peace, even if it's just external peace. And for a while, that seems fine. Even in the moment, that might feel okay. But as time persists and as the days go on, that gradually builds into resentment. And we look at it as resenting the other person, but in reality, we're the ones allowing ourselves to be treated that way because we aren't advocating for ourselves. Now, this is not a blame schmear. I'm not a huge fan of blame to begin with. This is just to recognize you hold the power. I understand why we look to others with resentment because ultimately we were kids who didn't know better, and our systems did what they needed to do to be able to survive. And now we have the opportunity to regulate that. But how do we get overcome this integration phase? You have the knowledge, you want to do it, but the moment you keep getting into the container, you chicken out or fear gets the best of you. So how do you move beyond the integration phase? Well, first and foremost, you need to give your physiology some exercise. Think of it as exercising. You go to the gym to be physically strong so you can hike, walk, move, travel, whatever it is that you want to do. But we don't really exercise our brain, not recognizing where it does show up for us and where it doesn't show up for us. And honestly, this is a concept I'm really excited about because I may or may not be putting something together to make it easier for people to get some integration practice in a safer environment. But you'll just have to keep listening to figure out more about that. How do we close the gap? If you don't have a trusted friend to start with, I would tell you to start visualizing. And I know that sounds silly. I thought it was silly too. And then I started doing it and I realized it actually did make it easier. Visualizing myself in the circumstance, saying no to the sweets that I don't want, or setting a boundary with a loved one to honestly protect both of our relationship connections. It feels uncomfortable even when I'm visualizing it. And by practicing how I want to say things or what feels right to me, it kind of warms up my brain to make it easier for me to do it. Now, when you put yourself in the circumstance, is it not going to be uncomfortable? No, of course it's going to be uncomfortable. You've only visualized it. But visualizing helps reduce the mental friction to help you be able to take the action. So let's use something like going to the gym, right? Figure out what time of day you want to try going. Let's call it the morning because that's the one I hear all the time. Visualize yourself waking up, going through your morning routine like you normally do, then going to the gym. Notice how you feel after you go to the gym. Feel empowered, strong, appreciative of yourself, and then come home, shower, go to work, have a good day. Rinse, repeat. Get your brain associated with that mental state and that mental association of positivity with the habit you're wanting to build. Now, if you're trying to set something like a boundary, you can still visualize it. I would tell you to take it another step further and practice doing it in the mirror. Literally watching yourself do it. Will it feel uncomfortable? Yes. If discomfort is the reason you are or aren't willing to do things to begin with, that's a whole separate conversation we need to have because anything that isn't predictable to our brain, so anything new is going to be coded as uncomfortable in our brain. That's just how it's supposed to work. So if we're avoiding discomfort, we're literally choosing not to live because we're so afraid, which is a personal choice, and that's totally fine. But avoiding discomfort can't be the answer if you want change. Change in and of itself requires discomfort. But back to your previously focused point, and I will not go on the tangent there. When you're having emotional challenges, getting in the mirror and seeing yourself doing it, even if it is weird or uncomfortable, still helps you feel more agile, makes your body feel more comfortable and capable, which is really what it's about. But my personal preference is find a friend, that one person, tell them what you're doing, or another colleague of yours that you know is trying to grow in a similar fashion and become inner size buddies, so to speak. And I believe I've said this before, but one of the companies I do corporate wellness with, we did a seminar on emotional intelligence for professional development. And one of the key topics they wanted me to talk about was boundaries. And part of their exercise is I wanted them to go practice boundaries. And what they did was talk about it, not integrate it. And when we came back in, that's what everyone told me. I was like, okay, thank you for letting me know. And I sent them back out to then practice integrating it. And when they returned, they all had the same message that despite it being a safe environment, they still felt really uncomfortable. Some added how laughter was regularly part of their exchanges because they knew this wasn't a real scenario, but yet their physiology still felt the discomfort. It's not easy learning to reparent your brain. I'm not sitting over here naive thinking it is. I've walked that walk many times and I throw my own little temper tantrum when I need to about it. But you are now the greatest leader for yourself. You are the parent to yourself. If you want a healthier and happier life, you have to be the one who advocates for that. And who better than you because you know you. You know you better than anyone else on this world knows you because you've experienced you. You've been with yourself through every moment. Who you are isn't a summation of what other people tell you you are. Who you are is based on how you understand yourself. And I do recognize that that's where a lot of people need to start. But regardless of where you are, we're talking about the integration component of change. Make sure you have compassion for yourself because this isn't easy and you do have physiological forces working against you. But if you don't practice the integrating, you're going to continue to fall into the same problem where trying to have the conversation, trying to build the new habit, you're going to get to that point and you're going to stumble or fail, and then you're going to beat yourself up. Don't use change to create a shame cycle for yourself. Every choice to try is a win, even if it doesn't go the way you want it to go. If you can practice a little bit beforehand, you can actually make it easier for yourself because you're building momentum, you're building motivation, you're building the positive reinforcement that's going to make your brain more willing to engage in whatever you're trying to build. I do love Nike's slogan, just do it, but brute force trying to plow through and push yourself into change doesn't work. That's willpower and it inevitably fails. It's just a matter of when and how long. Change is never at the pace we want. And there's nothing I can do to change that. If I could, I would have already done it. But change is slow because our body needs to see that it's safe. We need to see that we can still be loved, we can still belong, we can still have our own back and succeed and thrive as we go about these changes. Rather than being so determined to get to the end result, maybe it's about being curious what you can discover about yourself on the journey. But with anything, practice is the key to success. I'm not going to say practice makes perfect because I don't believe in perfectionism anymore, but you get what I'm saying. So whatever you do, call a friend, practice in the mirror, visualize, hell, text me. I'm fine to give you some references on that. But show up for yourself so you really can be the change you want for yourself. But that is all I have for you today. Make sure to stay tuned because that inner size arena is right around the corner, and I think you're really going to want to capitalize on a special offer coming your way soon. Till next time. Thank you for joining me on today's episode of The Challenges of Change. If you're ready to stop stressing and reclaim your sense of worth, be sure to visit my website at www.changebychallenge.com. There, you'll find loads of resources, blog posts, and information on how to work with me, Laura, as your personal mindset coach. Remember, if it doesn't challenge you, it won't change you. Don't let burnout or any other obstacle hold you back from living your best life. Take the first steps towards positive transformation today. Thank you again for listening. Stay confident, stay inspired, and embrace the challenges of change. Until next time.